I remember the judge kind of going and kind of saying what she was going to say, and then I could remember hearing some handcuffs. And then what really caught my attention was I heard, excuse my language, but I heard, and when I heard that, I immediately looked up. And when I'd seen Mr. Redden, and I'd seen him kind of hop over the defense desk that we were speaking about earlier, and he'd kind of put one hand down, and it just kind of pretty easily just hopped right over. And at that moment, I was obviously my full attention was looking at this particular individual. And at that moment in time, I actually thought he was going to go for the door because occasionally when we go to remand defendants into custody, they'll go and make a run for it. And there was that particular door that we were speaking about earlier. So I actually was under the impression he was going for the door. Never would I even imagine that he was going to go for the judge. But then I remember looking at him. I was actually saying like, whoa, because I was trying to like process what was even happening. And it all happened so fast. I mean, like I was saying before, the defense desk is actually a lot further than these desks are here. And he was able to scale that distance in such a short amount of time. I mean, the video doesn't even do it justice as to just how fast that all took place. And then I remember him doing this just incredible leap over the judge's bench bar there. And at that moment in time, I kind of just reacted. I wasn't even thinking, to be honest. It was just all reaction and a reflex. I went right in to try my best to kind of to protect the judge. So, no hesitation. I tried my best to go in. And at that point, unfortunately, he was so fast and kind of just athletic. He was able to get to her. And I remember him kind of sprawling his arms out like this and just clamping those arms down. And one kind of right on her hair here. And then the other one kind of like right in between the neck and shoulder blade, kind of like right here. So kind of just clamping down. And then I remember him just smashing the back of her skull on that tile wall that we were discussing earlier. Just smashing the back of it. And at that moment, I was actually thinking to myself, like, oh my God, like he's going to kill Judge Holthus. And, I remember after he'd smacked her skull, he had actually dragged her down. So he goes and does that, and then he actually drags her down, almost twists her a little bit, and was like face to face with the judge. And at this point, I am almost like on his back trying to get him up, and he's like this. And Judge Holthus is actually Judge Holthus was like frozen at the time. I mean, she was literally frozen solid. Almost like a piece of petrified wood. She was just not even moving. I think she was in a state of shock at the time. And he was yelling things at her. He was saying things to her, and I couldn't make out anything that he was saying because I was actually in turn screaming at him and saying, "Get off the judge! Get off the judge! What are you doing?" I was like, "What's wrong with you? Get off the judge!" And I remember vividly just how strong Mr. Redden was. I mean, this guy, he is unbelievably strong and much bigger than me. So I'm trying to wrestle him and get him off, and he is glued to her like a magnet, like an actual magnet. Like I couldn't pry him off of her. And it actually
Excuse me.
I'm sorry.
Where was he grabbing her at that time?
Same thing. It kind of just the hair and right here. So, and would not let go. Like was just stuck on her.
And you indicated that he was right in her face, approximately how far?
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't get any closer. I mean, like almost like touching noses, like this. And
I'm sorry, could you turn that?
Yeah, almost like this. I mean, literally like this, like yelling at her, saying things at her. This is when he had kind of twisted her, and I'm on his back, and they're almost this close, like face to face.
Approximately like 3 to 6 inches apart, maybe?
Yeah, I'd say so, maybe even closer. And they are close, and she's completely unresponsive, just petrified, just completely, like I said, in just a state of shock.
Had you ever seen Judge Holthus in that state before?
Oh, never in my life. I've never seen her, let alone really anyone. I mean, she was frozen solid, and just, I mean, it was like I said, I mean, it was unbelievable to see, especially coming from her. And I've known her a long time, and I've never seen anything like that.
Generally speaking, would you say that she is a timid person or a strong person?
Absolutely a strong person, very strong person. She's strong personality, really tough. Not much can really rattle her, but I've never seen her like that ever.
And you indicated that he was screaming things at her. You don't have any recollection of specific statements he was making?
I have none. Honestly, some of it, you can't even hear much because so much adrenaline kicks in. It's like everything kind of goes silent. I remember just him saying things to her, and I remember saying things to him, but I can't really make out anything that was said.
What was the tone of voice that he was using?
I remember him saying things, almost like, it was a pretty stern voice, but I can't really make out much. Even the tone too much, to be honest. He was, because I was just so, like I said, it was like everything went blank, and I'm yelling at him. I'm like, get off the judge. I'm so just focused on trying to just get him up, and it was just so unusual, and I just wasn't even really paying attention to anything that he was saying.
As you were trying to pull him up, what was he doing with his body?
Oh, he was just stuck to her. There was no getting him up. He was fighting tooth and nail. I'm trying my best to get him up, and he is just latched onto her. There is no getting this guy off of her. It was unbelievable. I actually remember saying to myself, I could not believe how strong Mr. Redden is. It was unbelievable. I could not. I'm just trying my best. I'm struggling to try to just get the guy up just a little bit. Off judge, and he is just glued to her.
Where were your arms placed on Mr. Redden as you were trying to lift him off?
Yeah. So honestly, I was almost like kind of around him. I kind of grabbed his shoulders like this, kind of like imagine this was his head, not in like a chokehold or anything, but kind of like right underneath, and kind of grabbing with this other arm and just trying to just lift him up. Anything I could do to just try to get him off the judge.
So your arms were wrapped around his chest area?
Almost, yeah, kind of like right here, almost like right below the neck area.
And he continued to go towards her and was refusing to let go?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Just kind of, like I said, just still with that kind of just death grip almost.
And you indicated previously that you, at the time that you were seeing this occur initially, you had the thought, oh my God, he's going to kill her?
Yes, especially when I saw her hit the back of her skull on that tile. I absolutely thought he's going to kill her.
When you observed his hand, I believe you indicated that it was between the shoulder and the neck area. Mm-hmm. Was she already on the ground at that point, or was that as he was kind of flying into her forcefully?
Right when he kind of did this, where his hands landed is almost where they stayed the entire time. So they kind of just, like I said, kind of just latched on, and there was no letting go. So he kind of did twist her a little bit, and when they were on the floor, but they didn't really move much, the hands, and that's basically it.
Can you tell me when they were on the ground how they were positioned?
It kind of had changed. So, like I said, they were face to face. But then when I was trying to get him up, he kind of had gotten up a little bit. She was still kind of frozen. But he had his hands right on her hair, and still in that like neck area. He's got long arms, so he's kind of holding her like this. I'm trying to get him up, and he's just relentless, trying to just get back at her. And they'd kind of just changed positions a little bit, depending on kind of just wrestling with me also as well. They kind of started out like this, but that only had lasted just momentarily. He was still saying things to her, but she had kind of, like I said, was just kind of frozen a little bit, and there's just a little bit of like wrestling going on almost. But those hands stayed kind of where they were.
Was he directly on top of her? Was he next to her?
At first, he was on top of her, and then as I was kind of pulling him off, and then especially when the CO came, he'd kind of gotten up a little bit and kind of maneuvered his body, but the kind of hands stayed in place. When
you say that he'd kind of gotten up a bit, was he on his knees? Was he still on the ground? Flat? What was he doing? When he had first jumped over, it was such a incredible jump that he had like almost landed on his knees, but like he actually wasn't like fully flat on the ground. It wasn't like he had just laid on top of her. He almost had like a pretty good formation, I guess, of where he was. So like he almost had like a leg out and kind of was able to really be on top of her and kind of prevent anyone from just kind of, he wasn't like he was just dead weight and couldn't lift him up. He had like a good position on her. And that's why I think also, it was so hard to lift Mr. Redden off of her. He was just kind of in a good spot and was not letting go, almost just determined, like he was on a mission or something.